This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Oh my God! He admitted!
Whoopsie!
Around the nation. Well, the nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Wednesday. The show today, we're gonna have some fun, a little bit. We also are, of course, going to have some very salacious allegations against the former president of the United States. Interesting. I don't know if these are true or not, but wow. It's going to be interesting stuff. So first, of course, we're going to talk about Trump's reaction to the Trump tape that has now been released. You've probably seen it, but I'm going to show you again. And, you know, just because we're going to have a little bit of fun with it and all that. We then are going to a story where you're probably going to want to forget after you hear about it. It's pretty bad. Is it true? Did Donald Trump openly fantasize about having sex with his daughter? I'm not kidding. This is a story that's in the news today. And dear God, no.
Sexual anarchy?
No.
Please.
No.
This election is about the people.
No, it's not. It's not. Please, no. But we're going to talk about it anyway. And then, again, there's all of this is coming from a very salacious book, which also claims that Stephen Miller wanted to literally drone migrants. So we're going to talk about that story as well. We have Rick Scott with his warning against the communists. That's right. Warning for any of you,
Pink-haired communists.
Don't come to Florida. Don't come to Florida. It's gonna be a bad time. Don't come. And then finally we have a Newsmax host, it should say Newsmax guest that is thinking that trans people are trying to erase gay people. It's really fascinating, weirdo stuff. Hoo boy. Today's show is going to be a ride. So, yeah, strap in, buckle up, and yeah, let's. Hold on. Let's go out there.
I want to go to space.
Yes, let's go to space. I don't know why I said that. All right. As I told you, this is gonna get weird. Okay. Oh, please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Because yeah, like I said, you're not gonna want to miss the weird. But first, let's go to Trump. CNN has released audio of former President Donald Trump basically admitting crime. Take a look.
We looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know. Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time, you know.
she'd send
Private
it,
email.
no, she'd send it to Anthony Weiner, the pervert.
Please print.
By the way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying, because we were talking about it. And, you know, he said he wanted to attack Iran and what? These are the
You did.
papers.
It's pretty,
This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know, we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassify
figure out
it.
yeah.
See, as president, I could have declassified
Yeah.
it. Now I can't, you know, but this is
Yeah,
classified.
now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so, look, we here and I have, and you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
It's
you.
incredible.
Hold on. Hold.
Oh my God! He admitted!
I mean, oh yeah, no, I've got the papers right here. Right here. This is incredible. Oh, but these are secret papers. You know. I mean, what else? What else are you going to add to this? What else? I mean, yeah, obviously. Oh yeah, I've got secret papers right here. Well, yeah, I could have declassified it, but I didn't declassify it, but here it is. Stupid. 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 What? I mean, come on. No, it's over. It's over. The tape obliterates his defense. But, you know, of course, in classic Donald Trump fashion, instead of saying, you know,
Whoopsie.
he turns it around and says, actually, I meant to do that. I meant to do that. In fact, you know what's great about this is that it exonerates me. So let's go here, of course, to Donald Trump's favorite social media platform.
Truth, essential.
And says, Special Counsel Jack Smith has illegally leaked and spun a tape and transcript of me, which is actually an exoneration. That doesn't make any sense. Again, if anybody's spinning here, it's Donald Trump spinning in place. He also said, by the way, let me show you a video of him talking to Bret Baier last week, saying this.
It wasn't a document.
Okay.
I had lots of paper. I had copies of newspaper articles. I had copies of magazines.
I know,
I
this
had
is
copies of
specifically a
everything.
quote. So you say on this, on
It
tape,
says just the opposite.
that you can't
And let me
declassify it,
just
so
tell you,
why have it? is
When
what
I
the question
said
is.
when I said that I couldn't declassify it now, that's because I wasn't president. I never made any bones about that. When I'm not president, I can't declassify.
And that's what you said. You
I
didn't
said
declassify it.
that. I said no. I said I couldn't.
could have
but that wasn't a
declassified it.
document, Brett. There was no document. That was a massive amount of papers and everything else talking about Iran and other things. And it may have been held up or may not, but that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles.
I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, that was not a document. I don't have it. I don't have any documents. What do you? What documents? What documents? The documents. I don't have any documents in my hand right now. Stupid. Good Lord. Nothing to declassify except for this big giant pile of papers that I'm bragging about having right here that I didn't declassify. More excuses, by the way. There's even more excuses. On Tuesday morning, he wrote, "Could somebody please explain to the deranged, Trump-hating Jack Smith, his family and his friends?" What does his family and friends have to do with anything? Weird. That as President of the United States, I come under the Presidential Records Act. It's affirmed by the Clinton Sox case, not by this psycho's fantasy of the never used before Espionage Act of 1917. Literally, the Trump administration used the Espionage Act to go after people. They literally used that. I don't know what he's talking about. Non-existent. Okay. Smith should be looking at the crooked Joe Biden and all of the crimes that he has perpetrated on the American public, including the millions and millions of dollars he extorted from foreign countries. That's right. Joe Biden.
I know words. I have the best words.
We should go after that guy. Apparently, Joe Biden. Stealing a lot of money. Joe Biden, though. No relation. No relation. Okay, so, again, insanity. Their so-called whistleblowers seem to be disappearing everywhere, or just completely unreliable. Who knew? Except, of course, we all knew.
Whoopsie.
Okay. Then he talked to ABC News earlier today with a new excuse, saying that yeah, the documents that I said that I didn't have. I bragged about having documents that I actually didn't have, but the reason I bragged about it was bravado. I would say it's bravado. If you want to know the truth, it was bravado. I was talking and just holding up papers and talking about it, but I have no documents. I didn't have any documents. I'd hold them up and said, you can't let this stuff happen, but that was not documents and it wasn't classified. So not documents, but also not classified. Okay, sure. And then added, I have papers from 25 different things. I have all different stuff interspersed. He said, oh, sorry. There's no highly classified documents in there. But then you just like bragged about, oh yeah, check this out. I have the secret documents right here. Prosecutors, in their case, said Trump showed off a classified document about Iran at the meeting. And prosecutors, again, really wouldn't make that charge if they didn't have some sort of evidence. Now, the most interesting part about this, or I should say the most obvious part about all this, is just how dumb Donald Trump is. Really. I mean, this guy did not think that bragging about having defense documents could ever backfire on him. Oh, I have attack plans for Iran, but they're not my attack plans. The military literally gave these things to me, and now I'm showing you because I'm not the guy who wanted to attack Iran. It was them. It was all them. Here, I have the secret documents to prove it. Idiot, dumb person, stupid. I mean, again, ridiculous. But that's Donald Trump for you. Once again, getting himself into a massive amount of trouble for literally no reason. There's no reason that this had to happen. No reason at all. He could have just returned all the stuff. Instead, now he's in for it. Okay. So, content warning on this one, because it's going to get weird. A former Trump administration official has made some pretty wild and salacious claims about the 45th president and his administration in a new book. The official, Miles Taylor, who is a former chief of staff at the Department of Homeland Security, who resigned and had written the 2018 op-ed in the New York Times titled, "I am part of the resistance inside the Trump administration." Well, that didn't go well, did it? Now, he claims that Trump had been heard talking about Ivanka Trump, his daughter, in some pretty explicit, gross ways. We're talking
Sexual anarchy.
Okay. So, first, content warning. All right. He writes, Aide said he talked about Ivanka Trump's breasts, backside, and what it might be like to have sex with her. Oof. So, yeah, about that weather. Yeah, that weather coming in from Canada, the smoke. Right? Oh my God. Okay. So now look, this was in context of Taylor highlighting the almost daily instances of sexism in the Trump White House and saying that they were so bad that one senior female official told the writer, quote, "This is not a healthy workplace for women." So now, if anything's true, it's that it's not a good place for women to work. Sure. 100%. Now, Taylor also claimed that after that interaction, former Chief of Staff John Kelly had to remind the president that Ivanka was his daughter. Now, afterwards, Kelly retold the story to me in, quote, visible disgust. Trump, he said, was a very, very evil man. Okay. So, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if I take this guy 100% at his word. I don't know if he's trying to cash in. He did work for Donald Trump, and like a lot of former Donald Trump officials, they go out and they write books, and a lot of them are filled with very salacious information, salacious claims, and so, you know, it sells books and things like that. And I say that because I think most people who worked for Donald Trump did so because obviously they want to elevate their careers. Okay. And so, you know, they follow him on the campaign trail. They're like, oh, don't worry, I work for Donald Trump. Not a problem. I'll get ahead in, you know, Republican politics. This is a great opportunity for my career and all that stuff. And, you know, I could write books afterwards of my experience. And this guy, you know, he's full of bombast and, you know, he says things that are pretty a little yikesy, but I'm sure he doesn't mean it, you know. And then, of course, they get into office and they realize he's insane. And then, you know, they're like,
Whoopsie.
I made a big mistake. I made a big mistake working for this guy. And so, you know, some of them end up resigning, leaving their positions, especially after things like January 6th. But okay, I still don't know if this is true. I still don't know if this is an example of him trying to cash in after this. I don't know. But what I do know is that Donald Trump has said some pretty effed up things about his daughter. And I'm going to give you some examples. Back in 2003, when Ivanka was 22, Trump had appeared on the Howard Stern show. So this is Howard Stern. He's been on it a couple of times and said some pretty effed up things. One of them, he said during that appearance, my daughter Ivanka, she's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body. Weird thing to say about your daughter. The following year in a New York Magazine interview, Trump said, Ivanka's a great beauty. Every guy in the country wants to go out with my daughter, but she got a boyfriend. Okay. Back in the Howard Stern show, he agreed that his daughter was a quote-unquote piece of ass. So now it gets worse. 2 years later, while promoting their series on The Apprentice, Donald Ivanka appeared on The View, where he was asked how he would have felt if Ivanka had posed in Playboy when she was modeling. Quote, "It would be really disappointing. Not really, but it would depend on what's inside the magazine." Well, I mean, it'd be disappointing. Oh, and then he, you know, in the middle of that was like, oh, wait a minute. No, it would depend. No. He then said, I don't think Ivanka would do that, although she does have a very nice figure. I've said if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. Isn't that terrible? How terrible? Is that terrible? Yes, it's terrible. It's terrible. Please don't do that. Please don't say things like that. That's weird. So yeah, of course he said super weird stuff about his daughter. Who says that? Who says, oh, if she wasn't my daughter, I'd totally get with her. Weird. Now that makes this way more believable. I wish I could 100% say, oh, come on, that's too far. I don't think Donald Trump would actually do that. But I can't. I can't say that. I can't. Wish I could. Wish I could. But now look, Taylor said more about sexism in the administration. And so, look, the weirdo Ivanka stuff aside, was misogyny a big problem in the Trump White House? Totally. In fact, here's what Taylor said, quote, "There are still quite a few female leaders from the Trump administration who have held their tongues about the unequal treatment they face in the administration at best, and the absolute naked sexism they experienced with the hands of Donald Trump at worst." With the hands of Donald Trump, not at the hands of Donald Trump. That's interesting phrasing. Now, one of the examples he used, and I talked about it earlier, was former Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, who Trump would allegedly call sweetie and honey all the time. So, look, I can believe that totally happened. That's a pretty old school thing. It's something that a lot of older men, at least in my experience, I've seen that happen a lot. And I honestly don't think a lot of them are meaning anything bad by it. Like, they don't know that it's infantilizing and kind of offensive and weird. They don't know. I think a lot of women at the time didn't want to tell them, certainly. Didn't want to say anything, or might have been so used to this kind of treatment that it might not have actually bothered them, because you don't really think about it. I don't know, but I do know that it's super unprofessional and creepy to say things like that to people that you're working with, especially people that are working under you. You have a power imbalance like that. And so don't do that at work. Don't do that to people you don't know, obviously, or to people you do know. Unless, that's your wife or your girlfriend or whatever. Don't do it to servers, waitresses, whatever, because I've seen that happen a lot. And I've heard a lot of stories of, just random, it generally tends to be old dudes, saying weirdo stuff and hitting on, younger women in the service industry. It's so uncool. It's unprofessional. It's creepy. Okay. And wrong. So now Nielsen also alleged that Trump had criticized her makeup. Taylor had alleged that Trump had criticized Nielsen's makeup. Once again, super unprofessional. Again, at one point, Nielsen whispered to him, "Trust me, this is not a healthy workplace for women." Okay. So, Taylor also claimed that senior counselor Kellyanne Conway had called Trump a misogynistic bully, a comment that she denied making when contacted by Newsweek. So that's important context to note. Quote, "He's a pervert. He's difficult to deal with." This is Taylor talking to Newsweek, saying, "This is still the same man. Incredibly, we're considering electing him to the presidency again." What do you think that Donald Trump would change? Why would he? There's no incentive for him to change. And he added that he's setting a very vile tone within the Republican Party, and in a sense has normalized pretty derisive views towards women in general. Okay, so look, there's no lies there as far as having a derisive view towards women, of course. You only need to go through, some of his, his old tweets, for example, which are now probably still up on Twitter. He might not be tweeting, but he's got his account reinstated thanks to Elon Musk. And so, yeah, you just have to go through anytime he's talking about a woman. He's rated their physical appearance when they would criticize him, famously telling those who accuse him of sexual assault as not being his type. Yeah. Would constantly refer to women as crazy, weak, overrated, unfit, having bad judgment, having no strength and stamina. His tweets also mentioned cases of women going to his office, begging him for a job, tears in their eyes, begging for campaign contributions, not so long ago, and quote, "do anything for them." and of course, in totally submissive positions. He's talked about Megyn Kelly bleeding from her eyes and her wherever. He's also accused so many women of being liars, as if, that's a trait shared by most women. Well, I mean, if you're, an incel or an MRA, then yeah, you would think that most women are liars, but they're not. And so, obviously, Trump calls a lot of people a lot of different names. But he seems to be specifically vicious when he criticizes women. And then focuses again on how weak and dependent they are, how unfit they are for any sort of leadership roles and positions, and essentially boils their work down to how physically attractive they are. So, that's Trump. That's Trump in a nutshell. And so do I think that there is a misogynistic atmosphere in the White House? Yeah, of course there was. And so out of everything, that is 100% true and provable. As for the idea that he actually fantasized about having sex with his daughter, I don't know. I can't say that for certain. And the fact that this is even an open question in my mind is disturbing enough. But again, this is all because of stuff that he's been caught on tape, openly saying, stuff about Ivanka. Again, I hope this isn't true. I hope this isn't true. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if this conversation actually did happen. Okay. Speaking of things that wouldn't be surprising if they're true, let's go to how Stephen Miller may be even more of a monster than we imagined. Yikes. Miles Taylor, a former Trump Department of Homeland Security official and the anti-Trump anonymous op-ed author, claims in his new book that Stephen Miller wanted to blow up migrants. Now, in his book, Blowback, Taylor recalls an alleged 2018 conversation between Miller and Admiral Paul Zunkuft, then the commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard. So, now, this conversation, purported conversation, alleged conversation, went as follows. Stephen allegedly inquired, "Admiral, the military has aerial drones, correct?" "Yes," Zunkuft replied. "And some of those drones are equipped with missiles, correct?" "Sure." The commandant answered, clearly wondering where the line of questioning was going. I'm just reading from an excerpt here. "And when the boat full of migrants is in international waters, they aren't protected by the U.S. Constitution, right?" "Technically, no, but I'm not sure what you're getting at." "Tell me why, then, can't we use a Predator drone to obliterate the boat?" Zunkuft looked nonplussed. "Because, Stephen, it would be against international law." So already this conversation is horrifying in a bunch of different ways. Talking about murdering a boat full of innocent people who just happen to be migrants. Now, Taylor then recalls how Miller and Zunkuft argued, saying, quote, "The United States launch airstrikes on terrorists in disputed areas all the time," Miller said, somehow equating migrants with terrorists. Or retaliated against pirates commandeering ships off the coast of Somalia. Coast Guard chief calmly explained the difference. "America attacked enemy forces when they were armed and posed an imminent threat. Seafaring migrants were generally unarmed civilians." His account then said they quarreled for a few minutes. Stephen wasn't interested in the moral conflict of drone bombing migrants. He wanted to know whether anyone could stop America from doing it. So, look, we talk about the Trump administration's, weird ideas when it comes to military assets. For example, wanting to nuke a hurricane. Now, that is both stupid and ridiculous, okay? And incredibly comical when you think about it, asking about that question, okay? Why would you even ask if you can drop a nuclear weapon into a hurricane? That's the dumbest of the dumb, okay? I don't know how else to describe it. Stupid. But like, we're not talking about something that is so stupid and comical that we can joke about it. What we're talking about here is someone asking a military official, hey, if there is a boat full of unarmed, innocent people in international waters, can we murder them? Can we blow up their boat so that they either die in the explosion or drown afterwards? That's what we're talking about here. And if this is true, then again, Stephen Miller, one of the most evil, horrible pieces of crap on the planet. It might not be true, though. And so, hold on. Now, Rolling Stone reached out to both Zunkuft and Miller regarding this section of the book. So, they both deny it. A spokesman for Miller said this is complete fiction that exists only in the mind of Miles Taylor, desperate to stay relevant by fabricating material for his new book. Okay. Zunkuft also did not confirm the exchange, telling Rolling Stone that he had no recollection of the conversation as detailed in the book. Okay, so that's interesting, right? So, no recollection. Oh, I don't remember. Wait. Well, if you're 100% sure it didn't happen, then you should say, this never happened. This never happened. Like, period. We never had this conversation. It's just, I'm sorry, but it never happened. But instead he says, I don't remember. Really? You don't remember something like that? Really? I don't know. I'm starting to lean on this is real. But here's what he said, quote, I vividly recall having a lengthy conversation with Stephen Miller regarding Southwest border security in 2018. My point was that the U.S. is not exerting enough influence in the form of foreign aid in the tri-border region of Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador that have been key source nations for illegal migration. And in fact, to get at the root cause of illegal migration at the source, rather than a goal line defense at the border, and the preponderance of these migrants traverse on foot. But to use deadly force to thwart maritime migration would be preposterous, and the antithesis of our nation's vanguard for advancing human rights. Yes, that's true, and it would be. That's not the question, though. The question is, did Stephen Miller ask you, hey, can we bomb migrants? Look, we know Stephen Miller is a monstrous person who has said horrible things and has crafted just incredibly horrible policy. Now, some of the, by the way, disastrous, terrible things that he has said is happened. One example is in the fall of 2021. CNN reported that Mr. Miller had made a racist comment in response to the idea of working to ensure that Afghans and Iraqis who worked for the U.S. military as translators, fixers, and local guides would be protected from backlash. So, wait a minute. These are, again, locals who helped the United States military. Yeah, why wouldn't we help them back? They helped us. We should help them. That makes sense. But Stephen Miller's like, no, I don't like them. And in fact, here's what he said, quote, what do you guys want? A bunch of Iraqs and stands across the country? Mr. Miller was reported to have said during a 2018 cabinet meeting. Stands, of course, this is a derogatory slur for people of Afghan descent. Oof. Another situation came from former Trump Secretary of Defense Mark Esper's book, his memoir, saying that Miller had proposed securing ISIS leader Mr. al-Baghdadi's head, dipping it in pig's blood, and parading it around to warn other terrorists. So this guy has, again, proposed a lot of really horrifying things. So would this extend to him going so far as to murdering migrants as a way to discourage immigration by sea? I don't know. I can't say that this 100% definitively took place. But I also can't say that it didn't take place. I can't say that the conversation didn't happen, and that's, again, understand how bad that is. that I can't say, no, whoa, no, this wouldn't happen. This is beyond the pale. Can't say that. Can't say that. I mean, maybe it's my own personal belief that somebody couldn't be this over-the-top, cartoonishly evil without at least any more corroboration. And I don't know. It certainly could have happened, but I just, again, I don't know. I guess I don't want to believe that he could be this much of a horrible person. That said, Taylor doubled down the veracity of his book when Rolling Stone sent him Zunkoff's statement, saying the conversation happened. And so, look, at the end of the day, I have to say this. Even though I don't know 100% that it actually happened and that he said these words, I wouldn't be surprised to find out later that this conversation did happen. It just wouldn't be a surprise to me. I'm just waiting for corroboration. Okay. Man, that is just oof. Okay. Moving on. Let's make fun of Rick Scott. All right, hold on here. Florida Senator Rick Scott has a warning for all of you
Pink-haired communists.
don't you dare come to Florida.
Let me give you a travel warning. If you're a socialist, communist, somebody that believes in big government, I would think twice. Think twice if you're thinking about taking a vacation or moving to Florida. We're the free state of Florida. We actually don't believe in socialism. We actually know people, and some people in our state lived under it, and we know people lived under socialism. It's not good. It's not good for anybody. So if you're thinking about it, if you think about coming to Florida and you're a socialist or communist, think twice. We like freedom, liberty, capitalism, things like that.
See, you communists, we don't want your stinking communist money. Wait, what? Okay, now here's the funny thing. Florida has shown us that they do not actually like freedom, liberty, or even capitalism. Okay? So why do I say that? Well, for one, Ron DeSantis has been speaking out against ESG. So what is that? ESG is an investment strategy by large companies that takes environmental, social, and governance issues into account when deciding on where they want to put their money. So now, making the decision of where you want to put your money as a capitalist, the people that have the capital, that's capitalism. And Ron DeSantis is like, we don't want you doing capitalism. We're going to deny you state contracts. That's right, government contracts if you do ESG investing. Who's big government now? Who doesn't believe in capitalism now? Because that ain't capitalism. Well, there's more, by the way. DeSantis also doesn't like it when corporations speak out against things like for example, his "Don't Say Gay" bill. And then uses, and then DeSantis will use the big government again to try to harm a company's profit margins. Not very capitalist, is it? No, of course, I'm talking about DeSantis. Rick Scott is the one delivering the message. Well, Rick Scott happened to preside over one of the largest Medicare fraud settlements in the country. Stealing government money for his private business. Oops. That company had to pay $1.7 billion in fines. Again, that was the largest Medicare fraud settlement in the country. Now it's not anymore. That's how bad things have gotten. It's actually gotten worse. But again, not really capitalism, is it? If you're stealing public money, from public programs. Just saying. All right, but what about freedom? Surely, they like freedom, right? In Florida, Florida is synonymous with freedom. No. When it comes to freedom of speech, for example, freedom of expression, banning discussions in colleges about certain topics like critical race theory, that's what they're doing. That's not freedom. Freedom isn't banning into discussion or acknowledgement the existence of LGBTQ people and banning the books that discuss their experiences from school libraries. Freedom isn't shutting down the free speech of educators when they, discuss things like, hey, we're not really comfortable with all of this anti-gay, anti-trans book banning legislation that you're passing. We as educators think that this is an important resource for people who are LGBTQ. But look, that's what DeSantis is doing. He is crushing freedom, liberty, and capitalism in Florida, in the name of stopping the woke.
Woke.
Because that's all he does. But tell me though, Rick Scott, how's the socialists and the communists? Those are the real problems.
Pink-haired communists.
Exactly. Here's the thing. I actually think that neo-Nazis are more of a problem, especially in Florida, when, because here we have reports saying that anti-Semitic incidences are increasing and have been increasing in Florida as of late. In fact, earlier this month, a couple of neo-Nazi groups held a bunch of different demonstrations. One gathering was outside of Disney World in Orlando, where you had 13 individuals associated with the Order of the Black Sun who demonstrated with swastika flags as well as racist and anti-LGBTQ plus signs, shouting slurs and giving Nazi salutes. There were also 5 individuals associated with the neo-Nazi National Socialist Movement that held an anti-LGBTQ protest in Munn Park in Lakeland, Florida. Although, to be fair, they've got socialists in the name, so obviously they're not welcome there, right? Now, at least 2 individuals who joined the OBS protest were from out of state, and in the Lakeland protest, 4 out of 5 state NSM members were, again, present there. So they're coming in from all over the country. This is Florida's apparently a gathering place for neo-Nazis. Yeah. Now, that said, to be fair to Rick Scott, because we're fair here, okay, there was a neo-Nazi demonstration in Orlando in January of last year. Rick Scott actually called that out and said it was hateful, anti-Semitic, and said it had no place in our state. So he has spoken out against prior neo-Nazi protests. But yeah, as far as the most recent ones earlier this month, we haven't really heard anything about it. Certainly, Rick Scott not denouncing them, at least that I know of. But what's more, I guess, concerning than Rick Scott's, than Rick Scott, is Governor Ron DeSantis. So Governor Ron DeSantis hasn't spoken out against any of this. And so that's really important. Ron DeSantis hasn't called out any of the neo-Nazis in Florida. And that's really where all this legislation is coming from. Now, for Scott is virtue signaling. He's trying to tell DeSantis, "Don't worry, I'm on your side." Yeah, I tweaked the neo-Nazis just a little bit, but we really we're against the communists and the socialists. Yeah, so we're against them. Yes. So now here's the thing. In Florida right now, look, Rick Scott is probably salty that there are LGBTQ people that are leaving the state as a result of some of these travel advisories. That's not a lot of them. And look, there's different reasons for it. Some people want to stay and fight. Others don't have the means to leave. Others are not afraid, or living their lives. And so, they're not leaving. So I don't know how much of an exodus of the LGBTQ community there is as a result of this. But, you know, nonetheless, the idea that some people are leaving or avoiding the state of Florida as a result of other, you know, hate bills that they've been passing, the Republicans have been passing, kind of got them a little salty. And there's also probably some salt about the fact that the recent anti-immigration bill is getting some immigrants to leave or not do business in Florida. Truckers in Florida, you know, boycotting the state as well. In fact, I recently talked about some Republicans who had signed a bill to crack down on undocumented immigrants, specifically, you know, making it a crime to transport undocumented immigrants with some pretty hefty fines and even prison time. And look, again, this affects documented immigrants who might have family members that are undocumented. Take them to a doctor's appointment, take them to the grocery store, drive them anywhere, and get busted. And suddenly you're in a world of trouble as someone who has documentation. And so there's a lot of immigrants that are leaving the state. You know, again, people who are here legally, but have, you know, undocumented family members that are working their way through the system, getting out of the state, and nobody really blames them. And I remember one of the Republicans who signed this bill saying, "Oh, don't go. No, we did this bill. This is supposed to scare you. This is supposed to scare you, but not actually make you leave. I mean, we're not actually gonna really enforce this. No. But what do you think is going to happen when you're openly saying, we're going to come after you? I mean, F around and find out. So basically, they don't want LGBTQ plus people. They don't want the socialists. They want the communists, the Marxists, and the immigrants. But DeSantis seems to be fine with the neo-Nazis coming into the state, or at least, again, won't condemn them. Just refuses to talk about them. Good luck with that. So now, the thing is, though, there are good people still in Florida. I know you're going to say, oh, come on. Come on. There are progressives, there are LGBTQIA plus people that are fighting the good fight in Florida. Like Nadine Smith, for example, of Equality Florida. She's the executive director. She said, look, if you come to Florida, join us in this fight. If you decide to leave or avoid the state, don't abandon this fight. Florida is the front line, but this is a national battle for freedom. And I agree. So here's the thing. If you do not feel safe, I totally get it. You do what you have to do to make sure that you and your family members are safe. But, you know, if you're in a safe place, please do what you can to support people in Florida from the outside. If you're in Florida, again, continue to fight. Because right now, it's the conservative experiment. That's what's going on here. It is, I mean, I kind of hate to say it, but it's the conservative
Peachtree dish.
They're testing all of their worst ideas and enacting them in Florida and seeing how it works. How far they can really push the culture wars specifically. And so if you're there and you're in a position to fight back, then you should. Because you might just help someone who can't. And it's most important, again, that if you're in the position, if you have the ability to fight back. I'd rather be a socialist than Rick Scott. Well, obviously. Beau of the fifth columns in Florida, so there's that. Good example of good progressive. Farron Cousins in Florida, great progressive. a lot of great, lefty people, good progressives, people fighting the good fight that are in Florida, and they need all the help they can get. So I'm not willing to write off any state in this country. No, we got to fight for those people there. And we just have to fight against the right wherever they're trying to roll back freedom and liberty. And Akimbo says, as if being a socialist is bad. Yeah, that's also true. Because it's not. Okay. Let's get to the last. Oh, it's even worse, by the way. Farron Cousins lives in Florida, poor thing. And Farron's wife is also a teacher. So that's even a bigger whammy. So yeah, it's rough, but he fights every day. And I totally respect that. Okay. But anyway. Let's go to the last story here. And let's talk about some weirdo stuff people are saying against trans people. Of course. Recently, a guest on Newsmax made some claims about trans people literally just existing, claiming that it's a way to erase gay people. Now, this happened during a segment on the Rob Schmidt Show, and they, of course, had a member of Gays Against Groomers making some pretty unhinged claims about trans people.
Chris, just let me get the final thoughts from you. I mean, they're talking about taking kids that are, 7, 10 years old and giving them hysterectomies and mastectomies.
Yeah, obviously that's something that Gays Against Groomers absolutely opposes.
Yeah.
The vast majority, I like to rattle off this little statistic quite a bit, and which is that 80 to 90% of kids that experience gender dysphoria, it resolves on its own. So why on earth are we doing this to kids? This is absolutely ridiculous. And then out of those 80 to 90%, the most of them grow up to be gay or lesbian people.
Yeah.
And so as a gay man, I didn't like it when we tried to pray away the gay.
Right.
Now we're trying to trans away the gay. And that's even more damaging, in my opinion. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's actually a really good way to put it. I hadn't thought of that, but
that's really dumb. That's what that is. Stupid. Because it's not true. It's not true. Okay, so look. Again, I don't think I should have to mention, but now because of these idiots, I do have to mention that 7 and 10-year-olds are not getting hysterectomies and mastectomies. I mean, it's outrageously false. There's no evidence whatsoever of any of that. Okay? He just takes that statement out of thin air and says, oh, yeah, no, it's a fact. Oh, yeah, 7 and 10-year-olds getting mastectomies. Really? Really? Now, look, hysterectomies, I don't know if you know this, but it's actually really, really difficult for even someone who's 25 to get a hysterectomy. Someone who's under 30 to get a hysterectomy. And again, generally 18 plus. 18 plus. Okay. So now, why are hysterectomies done for people 18 to 30 to begin with? Generally, it usually is done to treat certain gynecological conditions, right? Fibroids, cancer, uterine bleeding that hasn't responded to other treatments, childbirth complications. Now, that said, it's noted that it can be done for gender-affirming surgery. But again, gender-affirming surgery, not done on children. Certainly not done on 7 to 10-year-olds. Okay? Again, you have to be at least 18 to consent to an elective hysterectomy. And the vast majority of hysterectomies that happen are elective. So now let's go to his little stat that he rattles off. Once again, not a real thing. So he says 80 to 90% of kids that experience gender dysphoria grow out of it. No, they don't. No. And now he bases this on some pretty flawed studies. So one of them comes from the Desisting and Persisting Gender Dysphoria After Childhood study by Steensma et al. In 2011. So that study itself had some issues and actually led to a follow-up to correct those issues. Now, for one, it included participants who had been diagnosed using different criteria from the DSM-4 and 5 and mixed up young people who had dysphoria, those that had only socially transitioned, and those who were gender nonconforming. They then treated those different participants as though they were all the same, that they were all experiencing gender dysphoria. They also counted participants who could not be contacted during the follow-up as having desisted. Oh, well, we can't get a hold of this person. They must have desisted. Or maybe they moved away. Maybe they changed their number. Maybe they changed their name after they transitioned. They had also counted participants who did not have gender dysphoria differently at the start and end of the study, counting people that, again, didn't even have dysphoria. Now, Steensma conducted a follow-up study called Factors Associated with Desistance and Persistence of Childhood Gender Dysphoria in 2013 to address these issues, and looked at a key additional factor, the intensity of gender dysphoria experienced, and of course the results he found were different. The study found that young people who actually met the clinical guidelines for gender dysphoria as children generally ended up as transgender adults. And this was a good indicator of those who would go on to transition medically. So, the follow-up study that actually looked at the proper things and did the proper methodology, it turns out, they found a high correlation between people who met the medical guidelines for having dysphoria as children and found out that they, again, ended up as transgender adults. Oops. Completely opposite of the study that before. But again, they don't like to cite the follow-up with the actual correct information. They continue to try to cite the flawed study. Weird. All right, there's more. Another study that cites the 80 to 90%, desistance rate is the Dr. Kenneth Zucker study. Again, they claimed at least 80% of people, trans people, desisted. That's, children who had dysphoria desisted later in life. However, again, there were issues with that. In fact, when patient files at the clinic that he was running reviewed by independent investigators found that 42% of the children in his studies never even met the clinical criteria for juvenile gender dysphoria. So I guess it's pretty easy to desist when you never had gender dysphoria to begin with. Oops. Gee, no wonder. No wonder. Very strange. There's more. According to a 2003 report in the Journal of American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, they found that Zucker's techniques were disturbingly close to reparative therapy for gay people. So that is gay conversion therapy, which doesn't work. Author of the report, Phyllis Burke, questioned the idea that transgender children should be treated as mentally ill by saying the diagnosis of, at that time it was called gender identity disorder in children, as supported by Zucker and his colleagues, is simply child abuse. And in 2015, the clinic in Toronto that Zucker had worked at was closed down. Zucker was fired, and that followed an independent investigation which found some pretty disturbing things about, again, Kenneth Zucker, including treatment methodology that was about 30 years out of date, intrusive sexual questioning of children, conversion therapy practices, and inappropriate photography of children, among many other issues. One of those issues, apparently Zucker had conducted a study where prepubescent boys with gender dysphoria were rated by physical attractiveness. What in the groomer is going on here? Okay? You want to talk about gays against groomers? You are literally citing a study by somebody who seems to have some, I don't know, possible groomery tendencies in his research. But you're citing that study as, oh yeah, decisions, trans people want to get rid of gays. No, that's not real. Now, again, let's get to the last ridiculous thing that isn't true, and that's it's somehow the existence of trans people literally existing and affirming who they are, is somehow a way to erase gay people, gay men specifically. What? Absurd. And it's pretty disturbing to see somebody who identifies as gay claiming that trans people are attempting to do what is essentially conversion therapy. They're claiming that social transitioning is conversion therapy. What? The assumption is, oh, well, obviously, if you're really trans women are just gay men. Yeah, that's it. And they just want to turn themselves into women so they can be with men and not be gay. That doesn't make any sense. It's not. Look, there's a lot of trans women who, by the way, continue after transitioning to date women, cisgender women, and of course, in some cases, they date other trans women. I know generally polling tends to show that there's a lot of transgender women that identify as LGBTQ, that identify as gay as well. And so again, none of that matters though. None of that matters. Sexual orientation is not linked to gender identity. There's no correlation here. There's no studies that prove this, that there's a link between them. Transgender men are not converting. Transgender people are not converting gay men into trans women. That's not the reality. This is a massive amount of disinformation, which again, unfortunately, serves to further a hateful agenda. And that's what's going on here. A hateful agenda based on fear to other people. Look, here's the thing. We've got nothing to fear from transgender people. The real people that you should fear, and maybe fear's a bad thing as well, but maybe the people that their impact we should fear are the ones that continue to go onto the airwaves and spread hate and bigotry towards people that they do not understand. And that's who we have to fight against. Okay. I think we all know what our gender is by the time we're 6 years old. Yeah, generally about 6 or 7. We have a pretty good grasp on our identities. I believe that there was a study that said that, but yes. All right. Yeah, that's all I got for today. Whew. Quite a show. All right. I'm gonna go and read some super chats, member comments, and then we'll head to our Twitch viewers. If you haven't already, though, please like and share the stream. Okay. Cindy Warhol, thank you for becoming a member, hitting the join button over on YouTube. Appreciate that. Boulder Crypto Sissy Dragon says, drinking that formula, getting prepped for my colonoscopy. Thank goodness for 7-Up. Good luck with that. I have never done that, but I am nearing 40. And so that is certainly going to be in my future. Lovely. Lovely. Not looking forward to that. All right. So, Gabby Mathis, thank you for the 10 gifted Waldorf Nation memberships. Wow. Incredible generosity. Thank you for that. Gabby also, with a very kind $20 super chat, says, we'll miss a few shows. I have doctor appointments coming up. I need to renew our driver's license. Love to the chat and jab. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And Corey, thank you for the very kind gifted membership. All right. So let's see. I will have some news about what's going to happen for July 4th. The week of July 4th, I'm going to take a little bit of time off for the holiday and to, recharge and get a little rest. I've been feeling a little burnt out as of late, and want to get back to 100%. And so I'll have more details on that on Friday. But yeah, I will be taking a little bit of time off over the July 4th holiday. Although, interesting news on that as well. On the 3rd, I will be hanging out with Matt Strackbean, aka the Letter Hack, and he will be interviewing me while also drawing me live stream. So that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be at July 3rd. That's on Monday at 9 p.m. So tune in for that. That's gonna be fun. And I will remind you as well on Friday's show. So, okay, with that, no human being is illegal, 100%. From Old Dog Crapper. Love the name. and also the sentiment. I agree. Let me just add too.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
The Letter Hack is an excellent dude. Yeah, he's super nice. Super base guy. So I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be a fun time. So never done that before. All right, everybody. Thank you again. Twitch comments. Twitch. So okay, there's no subs or anything on Twitch. Ban pink hair in the name of freedom. True freedom. The freedom. Liberty.
Pink-haired communist.
I'm scared. Scared of the communists. Occam Stagenser says, I'm in Florida too. Over on Twitch. Keep fighting the good fight, Occams. Keep fighting the good fight. That's all I can say. Doing the best that you can. It would help if the Florida Democratic Party wasn't such a disaster and a train wreck, but, there you go. Unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Also a weird thing to say about your dunker. Hey, I know words.
I know words. I have the best words.
I have the best words. The United States of America. Come on. Okay, anyway. Let's do a raid. Let's raid into... Haven't done raiding the watch list for a little while, so we'll do that. Again, thank you all. Love you, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you back here tomorrow.
Sexual anarchy.
It's not a salami sandwich.
Disappointed!
Peachtree dish. Woke mob.
Woke.
Sexual anarchy.
Resurrection is about the people. They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
Whoops.